Good morning, everyone. This morning, the topic of today is the psychological effects of hate. I know very well that hate can be a touchy subject, but today I want to share some ideas about the reasons why we hate as well as the effects of hate. The first one is fear of the other. Hate can develop because something is different. When something is different from what we're used to, or it could be change, it could be anything, but when it's different, it's easy to create or develop hate because we are afraid of it because it's not something we're used to. The second one is fear of ourselves. We all have the tendency of rejecting things we don't like about ourselves. And I know if you all can, if anybody out there can remember sentences like, I'm not the bad guy, you are. We are afraid of ourselves, fear of knowing the tendency of things we know that we are capable of doing. We are afraid to admit it, so we push it onto somebody else. And that can lead to judgment. When we are afraid of ourselves, we create hate as well as judging other people. Sometimes we may do it unknowingly, but it's just because we are afraid of admitting things that we know personally that we are capable of doing. Now the third one is lack of self-compassion. So this definitely goes both ways. Self-compassion for yourself and for others. The way to accept people for who they are is by first accepting yourself. You have to accept yourself before you can accept somebody else. Because when a part of us is unaccepted, we tend to attack others. When there's a part of us that we don't accept, we tend to attack others. And the truth here is that if there is hate in our mind for another person, then we also hate ourselves. It goes both ways. If you love yourself, you can love somebody else. If you hate somebody else, you definitely hate yourself. So we should create more love in our heart for ourselves. So it always starts with you. Charity begins at home, and you are the home. Now the next one is it fills a void. When we have hate in us, it can be there because we just want to feel something inside us that is missing, a void. Hate can serve as a distraction from hopelessness, powerlessness, or shame. Now we're trying to fill this void when we feel powerless, when we feel hopeless, or when we are ashamed. Hate can fill that void. So we all need to be careful about hate because it can lead to hostility and aggression. Hate is very powerful. Hate can come into your life and change the way you think, what you say, whatever you do, your actions can be changed just because of hate. Because it can just go through your mindset and take over your mindset, and whatever you do is just gonna be very different. So when we feel pain and being able to feel this void, you see, when people feel pain, sometimes we tend to gain back, to gain sense of power by striking on others. If you remember, sometimes they say, oh, when we try to apologize after a certain situation, like, oh, I'm sorry, I was pissed and I decided to pour it on you. So hate works the same way, just like anger. When we are angry, we do something like that. Hate is just the same way. We tend to strike on others by trying to fill a void. Now, the last one is society and cultural factors. In our society today, people tend to want to fight than resolve problems. Fighting is much more easier than trying to solve a problem, so people just tend to fight. And people also fight because hate makes it harder to connect since we are scared to reveal something about us. We don't want to reveal something within us, so we tend to just fight and add more to the problem than resolving it because we don't want to reveal something that is in us. That is also what hate can do. Hate is so powerful. Hate can affect you in so many ways. It can change the way you do, the way you act, the way you react to people, the way you speak to people. Everything about you, including yourself as a person, can be changed just because of what hate. And when hate takes over your mindset, you're screwed. You're screwed. People see a total different you. So what can be done? And I know we all know this. We are all born with the ability to either be compassionate or be aggressive. The key to overcome hate is by facing the fear of vulnerability, because this will let us connect and love others. If we just face it and know, okay, yes, I'm afraid to be vulnerable, but we just push to be vulnerable, you find yourself being compassionate. And you'll be able to connect and love others because now you're vulnerable. You don't mind revealing those things about yourself, because then you're ready to solve a problem, then add to the problem. So I advise you all to treat yourself with compassion, because that will lead you to do the same to others. So I leave you guys with this. Let's have less hate and more love. Have a blessed Sunday.